three gentlemen in the orchestra are all jazz trained, and that's a bigger and longer tradition of actually learning to play the right way. So the folk music in schools are newer, but I think it doesn't. If you can actually learn the trade by doing that, I think it helps the music. It shouldn't take something out of it, I don't think. But it's always, of course, a danger that the education takes some of the spontaneity out of the music. But there's one saying that if it actually did that, maybe there wasn't very much in the first place. So that's probably the case, I think. It's actually, we've been discussing that quite a lot because we've been playing jazz for many years and we like it very much. But we also discovered, of course, that it's very difficult to get an audience by it. And instead of just turning against that and just turning against the audience, we've kind of talked about why is it that the audience is getting smaller and smaller to like normal modern jazz thing. And we think it's because that it's very difficult to relate to the music. It's very difficult music, especially with the improvisation. And especially when you hear a American tune, fine as it may be, people doesn't know it. And we discovered that if we play music from our own roots, say the Nordic countries, that's much closer to us. And we should implement the jazz things like improvisation and all that on top of that. Then we have a mix that says more affects us, and we also experience a much larger audience that also has that kind of connection with it, we think.
Most of our teachers is actually old people or wax rolls, or you get. I mean, this is not. You hear this music and you hear maybe more the mood in it than the actual sheet writings. Often you have to hear like there's this famous recording of a woman in Denmark. Called Ingeborg Munch, and all the recordings from her are in her home. They're like she's milking the cow, therefore she sings this song, and somehow, I mean, even though I'm educated in this, I always go back to the roots. That's where I take my knowledge from. So that's maybe the greatest connection actually is to be able to listen, also to open the heart to your own culture.
You talk about a certain Nordic tone. It's a thing we talk about in Denmark and the other Nordic countries as well. And that's what we try to discover in this orchestra. And we think there is a certain kind of tone, sound that is very familiar and very well known in our kind of the world. So a lot of jazz musicians, for instance, are looking to America, England, or pop and rock, and we think they should be looking more to the countries just next to us because we have much more in common than we think. We have that as one of our inspiration, especially the sound of it, and it's very calm and very exclusive in a way. So our new record is actually very much inspired by that sound. But the music is not jazz in that way, but it's close.
One thing is that the Nordic voice is kind of the Nordic poetry also, and it often reflects the nature. And I think if you interpret it the other way around to the music, the Nordic tone also have its Nordic tone. It's also describing the landscapes and the moods. And I think it was maybe the generation of Jan Garbarek and those people who established some kind of Nordic tone and Nordic sound, because they were mixing. They didn't have to study this jazz tradition so hardly as the generation before. So they kind of started taking in their own. It became one thing in a way. So I think that the Nordic tradition is today also the jazz part, because it also has its own Nordic sound as pop as rock. It's all of this like spreading out somehow. In Scandinavia is Denmark, Sweden and Norway, and they are more related than the rest of the countries. But I'm half Norwegian, and the part my dad comes from is actually also where some of the Icelandic language sprung out from. Samic people don't sing songs. They sing the animal. If they are making a yoik about a fox, they are not singing about the fox, they're singing the fox. So it's more like an Indian kind of spirit approaching to it, and I think it's rudely. I think it's also spread out. I mean, that's some of it that we have in common, but also in the Greenlandic stories, it's a lot of Indian like culture in that as well, with the drum dancing and everything. So it's a good question. I mean, we are all, and if you go further, they are also all involved with each other. So I don't think we are inspired by it. I think we are part of.
We just choose the songs we like, musically and text, lyric, and we just try to put it in our own language. So we don't really think about what. It has to be Nordic, and that's and the lyrics has to be in the Nordic language. And apart from that, everything goes.